Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kastubadas. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1392. It's Walk on Wednesday. Walk on Wednesday is when we bring somebody from our community to the forefront. We pick their brain for about 10 minutes and get to know them a little bit better. But before we do that, we got Miss Mara here, spinning the dials, giving us some announcements. Good morning, Prabhu.
Good morning. We're back to recovery group meetings today at 1:30, and the men's meeting is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. And, you know, if you haven't heard, we've got our new online community platform. So you can find community chat, classes, merchandise, upcoming events, retreat registration there, and everything else, all in one place at wisdomofthesages.com.
Mary, you got to make that sound more exciting. You got to pitch it. You got to be like, guess what we got going here today? We've got a whole new platform.
I got to use my hands more?
You got to use your hands. You got to get Italian with these people. It's early in the morning. It didn't even register. You want to do something great. You like what we're doing. You like the Bhagavad Time. You get out there. You join our monthly, become a monthly member. Go to our platform. Chat with your friends. Make new friends.
We finally settled on our official language for this, right?
What is it?
Well,
Henry says Crazy Eddie. Do you remember who Crazy Eddie was?
I do remember.
You can do some crazy things with it.
No, we're just calling it our the Sage Community Platform, right?
The Sage Community Platform, yeah.
My
vote was join the family. I thought that was a better pitch. I got shot down by everybody involved. Join the family. Hey, become a family member. Join the family. Everyone's like, no.
That's right. Now it's just become a supporting member.
Become a supporting member. It's so NPR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to NPR Raghunath, by the way?
NPR Raghunath.
It's like squeezing into a suit that's too tight.
That suit does not fit me.
All right.
Okay. Well, good morning. Anything you want to say, Kastuba? Any other announcements?
No, you know, our guest today, it is speaking to some, you know, there was a bit of a tragedy, you know, in our broader Bhakti community recently. It's at a place that you visited. I've never been there before, but of course I've always heard about it. All right. Why don't you fill us in?
Well, there's a beautiful devotee community up in northern Canada on the west coast, north of Vancouver. In the woods, it's called Sharanagati Farm Village.
Is that called Saskatchewan?
I don't know. It's called Saskatchewan.
We'll have to find out.
Yeah, but
Alberta,
beautiful devotee community. As a matter of fact, I visited Mother Yamuna Devi.
Yeah,
Yamuna Devi there. Yeah, you know, just people just said, you know what, Krishna consciousness is right, and I'm sick of living in the city. I want to start raising my kids a natural way, living a natural way. And they created this beautiful community there, but there was they were a little off the grid.
A little off the grid.
Okay. And then they had a forest, call it a forest fire. Wildfire, and it devastated some homes. So we have Radha Prema Bhakti. Welcome to the show, Radha Prema.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're not too far north. But yes, definitely north computer, Vancouver.
North of computer. Oh, great.
Yes, I think everybody here knows where that is.
Yeah.
We are entirely off grid, so we are. Yes, there's no city sewage, there's no city water, there's no city power. We're all dependent on solar. We have our water sources, our creeks or springs, and devotees have figured out a way to plumb those into houses. And
Really did it. Someone did it. That's incredible.
We did it.
That's
And
great.
it's been here over 40 years.
That long?
And
I didn't know it was there for that long. 40 years.
Guess what?
Yeah.
We're old, Kostuba. I was visiting there 30 years ago, so 40 years isn't such a big deal now.
How
Yeah,
many how many people live in that community? Sharanagati.
well, there's Sharnagati village itself. That is, I think the last count was approaching 80.
Okay.
And then of course there's, all of Venables Valley. So we've got our broader community there. There's Boomy Farms.
Okay.
Then there's Blue Earth Lake Forest Farm further up. And, we're all friends and neighbors and
Okay.
part of the same community. And so yeah, it's a bit broader than just Sharnagati Village. Um,
That's
yeah,
right.
so
There's
I mean we've
probably
got
people who live on the outskirts of the village. That makes sense.
yeah, it's just the whole valley, right?
It's the real
So,
future. You guys are like pioneers. It's the real future of how to live.
well, I personally do not count myself as a pioneer. We've only been here 4 years.
Oh,
But there are pioneers, there are definite pioneers here. I
mm,
did some recordings of ISKCON Canada pioneer recordings a few years back, and some of the stories
yeah.
they're incredible. And I mean these devotees, they forged this incredible community that is, I mean, there's varying degrees of austerity within the valley. Um, I tend to go a little for the less degrees of austerity. But Krishna has very graciously allowed me to get a feel for better, higher levels of austerity, just
Mhm.
with this event. But anyway, the community, we've got a school, there's that, and kids, I mean, they'll graduate with a high school diploma. There is the temple, which is super vibrant and has just exploded in visitors in the
Mm,
past, I'd say, 8 months.
wow.
This doesn't sound big to most people, but the Rath Yatra this couple of weeks ago, a week or two before this event happened, we had 1,200 guests.
That sounds
And
great. In the
for
middle of
us,
nowhere, that's incredible.
1,200 guests for a festival out there. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty wild. Um, and then, there's a Goshala, there's, a
You have
whole
to remember all of our listeners may not know all these terms. So Goshala
okay.
means.
So
Goshala is
Goshala
a
is a cow
spaceship.
sanctuary.
Oh, it's a cow sanctuary. Okay.
Okay.
So there's, I think,
We
yeah,
have a
there's
spaceship.
a spaceship. No, no
No,
spaceships.
Goshala is a cow sanctuary.
We've got computer, north of computer, spaceship. We're doing really well this morning. Yeah, so there's quite a vibrant thing. There's tons, there's multiple organic farming initiatives.
Mm.
I've got sheep and, would I make textiles from their wool. And yeah, so there's lots of interesting things happening here. And
So it's kind of a community that's, I would say, in response to Srila Prabhupada's commentaries in Bhagavatam about that this is actually uh, the natural way to live, right? In harmony with
yeah,
the earth, in harmony with the animals, that
yeah.
we can live a simpler life and be very content and happy, maybe a little bit more austere, right?
I mean, I
But
have to say, simple living is not simple in any way, shape, or form,
Sure.
okay.
but you do have deep, profound appreciation for the conveniences that one does have, and I mean, Sharanagati means surrender. So we're all striving to, have this mood of surrender and really try and realize that we are not in control of anything. And this event has really highlighted that. And it's
So why
been
don't you tell us about the event?
so, I think it's almost a month ago now. Um, I mean, we live in a very dry corridor. We live between two mountain ranges. So, the coastal mountains, the rain comes and kind of gets blocked against those mountains. And then from the other side, it's the Rockies. And so we're in a nice dry stretch. We live in, I think, the only official desert in Canada based on rainfall, annual
Wow.
rainfall. And so yeah, every summer is fire season. And anybody who, lives in a dry climate kind of knows what that's like. So there was a dry lightning storm, and one of the ridges, a couple ridges over, it got hit and a fire started. Because we've been in drought, this past winter was very, very, very little snowpack. So everything is dried up. And so when that lightning hits, just everything flares right up. So a lot of fires started. Ours was the first big one, and it was inaccessible to firefighters and firefighting equipment. So it got out of control quite quickly.
Wow.
And, we actually had a meeting with the local government officials and wildfire services, just to kind of talk about, how the fire was going to be around for the whole summer and how that would impact our community and how we would, sort of live beside this for the next few months. And then somebody looked up and the fire was on the ridge, and the official said, okay, everybody out now. So we had a couple hours to go. And I mean, normally we were prepared. We've got our to-go bags, that kind of thing. But we had the issue of trying to load the sheep who refused to move. So yeah, we had to leave them behind. They were rescued a week later.
Oh, good, good, okay.
That's good. It's hard to move a sheep. I've been there, done that.
Has a couple sheep.
They're normally quite cooperative, but
mine are
they
not.
weren't going in a truck. We were all panicking a bit too. But I mean, you could see the fire. It was. I thought it was a huge brigade of helicopters.
Wow.
The sound, and then my husband said, "Actually, that's the fire." And so, when somebody says a roaring fire, the sound is so potent.
Wow.
And, I mentioned the idea of surrender and realizing how small and not in control we are. And so standing there watching those flames literally explode down the mountain through the trees was very, very humbling. And it was pretty awe-inspiring, to be perfectly honest. These forces of nature, material energy, they are definitely unstoppable. And so anyway, all the devotees evacuated, almost all the animals evacuated, the cows were all evacuated, and then devotees were displaced. And only just recently were able to come back, those who were able.
Yeah, how much did it affect the community, the fire?
Well,
did you lose any houses?
Yes. Our family home was lost. There were 5 or 6 others as well, plus tons of infrastructure. Fencing was lost. So I mean, agriculture is next to impossible.
It's all fencing.
We live in rangeland, so ranchers' cattle come through here, and if legally in British Columbia, it's private homeowners' job to keep them out with private fencing. So that means all of our agricultural endeavors have kind of been just thrown out the window now.
Wow.
So there's that. There's the homes. I mean, we're staying with friends right now, just because we've got nowhere to go. We've got a beautiful pile of rubble.
I can't imagine what that must be like. I'm so sorry.
I don't even know if I can fully imagine it, to be honest.
Right. It's almost
it's quite surreal.
Undigestible.
We've been doing it over the past little bit. So I mean, there's homes lost, there's the agriculture infrastructure. Our brand new grader and snowplow just went up. We maintain our own roads, so that's a real kicker. I just found out that last night. The devotee who has the post pounder to put in fencing, that all went up. So many people's livelihoods were affected as well. They had sawmills that were destroyed, melted. Like, that's how hot this was. There's wood.
When you live out
stores.
there, a sawmill is like having gold. It's like it's like having a swimming pool. It's something. It's a real luxury to have a sawmill.
It is. I would love to have one.
And the post pounder. What's a post pounder?
put in the
So
fencing.
for fence posts, so
Raghunath's like, I
mean,
want one. I don't know what it is, but I want.
post pounder. Well, is it run by it's off the
there's
grid? Does it use
it's like a heavy equipment machine. So you
it's a
attach
heavy
this to a
equipment
backhoe, and then
oh,
because the ground here is not the most fertile ground,
yes.
it's like,
So you need a
Oh, hard.
hydraulics to get it. Yeah.
I
That's the
mean,
only way
no,
you're gonna put up
you can
fences
do
with the
it.
yeah.
Oh no, you can do it by hand. Most of this has been done by hand. But I mean, a few years ago when we got the sheep, we thought we had this small little thing fenced off, and we went, "Oh, this will be fine." No, it
Yeah.
wasn't. Within
It's
2 weeks, we were like, I became a shepherd because
Yeah.
I had no choice. They had to
Yeah.
eat.
You ever dig a
So,
hole, Kostuba? It's not easy. Digging holes.
I've dug in a hole before, Raghunath.
Exhausting. Next
especially
time
when
you're
the
up here, we're gonna
land
dig a hole.
is like gravel. And then if you've got complete, like it's very dry here.
Yeah.
So it's not a simple thing. So anyway, a post pounder is very helpful. There are hand tools that you can get which make it easier, but ultimately if you've got kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of fence lines to replace, you want a post pounder. It's a
Okay,
fun toy. So
there's some homes lost and there's a lot of infrastructure lost. And is there a plan to
yes.
get things back up and get through the winter?
Absolutely. Yes. So, we're reaching out to, I mean, as a community, we're coming together and seeing what we can do just in terms of like, group effort days. In terms of cleanup, the amount of cleanup that there is incredible. There is burnt metal and debris everywhere. There are, if there was any sort of plastics or irrigation like that, that's, it's all not great in terms of safety. So yeah, there'll be lots of that to do. We have, because here's the real kicker. Because we're off grid, because we heat with wood, because we don't have city services and city water and fire hydrants, because we are too far from fire services, insurance is either inaccessible or so cost prohibitive that none of us have it. So now we're fundraising. We have a website. There's two that lead to the same place: Venables Valley wildfire.com or Sharanagati wildfire.com. And so there are different venues for we're doing some
Helping out.
crowdfunding at this point. So any little bit is so extremely appreciated. If people in the area want to offer service in terms of, physical labor,
I'm thinking maybe
digging
you ought to do
holes.
like Raghunath does on Super Soul Farm. He hosts these kind of these volunteer weekends where people come and they just like to work. Maybe if you did something like that.
City folk come up.
Yeah. The only problem is we have no place to put them now.
Oh,
Normally when
right.
we don't have a guest house. So normally when we bring people in,
They stay with you.
Yeah, they stay in individuals' homes. And because a lot of those extra spaces are taken up by displaced individuals at this point, that's trickier. But that being said, the local community, they're jumping in, and just the valley community itself plus the surrounding towns, they're all jumping in. But I mean things like skill sets and construction materials and all of these things that we need, because my 10-year-old daughter, she said this so incredibly. She said, Sharanagati's not just a place, it's the people. Because somebody asked me, our homes are still here. Yours is, everything is completely gone. Why are you staying? And I looked at this individual and I said, because I love you and everybody else here. And this community is so incredible. And that's why every single one of us feels the extreme impetus to rebuild after a disaster like this. And, so much forest is destroyed. And this is, we don't realize how attached we are to these living entities and these
trees.
And there are individuals who have put 40 years into their homestead, and
Sure.
it's incredible, right? So yeah, we're all pitching in, and anybody else who wants to pitch in, we are so
Okay,
incredibly
well,
grateful for it.
we've got those websites up on our chat board, and we'll include them in the descriptions to this podcast wherever you find it, so
Yeah.
people can do a little research. And if you'd like to help out, it's a great cause. It's really, you got to admire people that so many people talk about natural living and going back and we all recognize, so many of the faults of modern life and the problems it's creating, how we're polluting the world and destroying the earth in so many ways. And if a group of people gets together and says, hey, let's do it different, it's going to be hard, but we can do it, and we can cultivate a deeper, beautiful spiritual understanding about who we are to each other, who we are, and to nature, who we are to God, and let's do it together. You got to admire people that put their money where their mouth is, really go out
I
and
appreciate it
do
so
that.
much.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful idea. It's a beautiful community, and if you'd like to help, you can just look in the description of the podcast and help out a little, do a little research, help out.
Thank you so much for joining us this
Thank
morning. I appreciate it. I know it's 3 hours earlier there as well.
you.
Appreciate you up
Mangalar tea
early.
time.
I took you right out of Mugalartik for this. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rose, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck.
Keep
You're in our
keep up the
prayers, and thank
You're
you
in our
for your service.
prayers, and hopefully some of our people will reach out for your community, and we want to come back and visit that wonderful community too soon.
And we're
Haribol,
looking
Radha
forward to
Bhakti.
welcoming everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Hey,
Ah,
Raghunath.
I tell you, there's something. I mean, I'm appreciating the community we have on the podcast, but imagine if, you wake up in the morning and there's Linda across the field, and then there's Jeff Eisenberg who's living in a treehouse somewhere, and then there's Lori Pag and the Chief who have like uh, one of those earth homes that are built into the side of a mountain
Cobb.
made of old recycled tires. You got Thomas Essig living in an old Shasta, vintage trailer in the back making music, and it's sort of cool just to have to wake up and have people that you love and people part of your community with sort of similar values. It's really, really cool to have that going. I'm very appreciative of the people, and also it makes me think of all the people who are complaining about everything, and clogging traffic because they want the world to change, but they themselves don't really want to change. They don't want to give up their cell phones. They don't want to give up their cars. They don't want to give up, if you're really going to complain about the world in that way, go out and live it first. Go out and live that way first. What a great example of a protest. That's a protest right there. You're protesting how the world is.
But you know what? It's in one sense, it's beyond the protest, right? Because protest can be just talk, but someone says, let me not just be a critic, but let me actually do something, right?
That's what I said. Didn't I say that?
Well, no, you said it's a protest, and I'm saying it's more than a protest. Okay. Sorry, Roger.
You said it's more than protest, and I said it's more than just that. But yeah, they're actually you said it best, put their money where their mouth is, and they're like, this is how we live. And not only that, and she made this great point, like simple living is not simple basically because we've drifted so far away from natural living. So, if I want something, I just go on Amazon and say I want it, but tomorrow. I want it delivered tomorrow, and it's going to be manufactured in China, and I want a broom. You got to learn how to make a broom. You got to learn how to make when you're living off the grid. I'm sure you can go to Costco and buy stuff and bring it back, but I'm sure you can do that as well. It's not like they all have handmade brooms, but I appreciate that spirit. And I don't know, maybe we should all retire in a community together, Kostuba. What do you think about me as your neighbor? I'll be your Kramer, just dropping in
It's
into
possible.
your hut.
It's possible.
Are you humoring me like when my kid says, Dad, can we build a secret panel on the wall? Oh, yeah, it's possible.
No,
yeah, secret panel.
No,
What do you think? You and me, neighbors.
It's possible. I have to see, we have to see where the Lord directs us, and if that's where he directs it.
Yep.
I'm down.
Yeah. All right, prayers.
Something to me is still saying ashram in Mayapur. Something's still there,
Ashram in Mayapur, ashram in Rishikesh. What do you think about that?
Well, maybe for the summers.
Yeah. So you're saying a summer home and a winter home. Yeah. Okay. All right. Where are we? Srimad Bhagavatam. We're winding up a chapter today.
Maybe starting a new one. Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesh Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmadatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Woo-hoo! Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 14, Text 41. Got two more texts here. This is what is it called? The ideal householder?
Yeah, this is the conclusion.
Ideal family life?
The conclusion of this chapter on ideal family life. But, instructions to householders. What are our responsibilities? Where should we focus? How should we spend our time? How should we spend our energy? So that we don't get lost, so that we stay on a spiritual path in a really dynamic way. And it's winding up with the idea of, you could say worship. It's interesting how the word worship is used. Maybe we'll talk a little about that. But like the previous verse that we just read, there's temple worship, and it was described here. We heard about how temple worship was developed when people could no longer enter into deep samadhi just through meditation, right? When people were having trouble finding God just in their heart by sitting down and quietly, alone, going deep within. When our minds became too distracted for that, then there's a prescription, right? There's a remedy for it. And that remedy is that you can kind of make like this building represents the heart, and you place the deity form of God in that building, and then you bring your attention to that form. Now you can engage your senses rather than just sitting quietly, and that'll help you bring your mind to God. But the idea is that will help you bring your mind to God in your own heart and in the hearts of every living being. That's where it's meant to go. But the tendency is our weakness, our human weakness, right, is that we begin to see that temple worship in our own sectarian way. We become proud of what we're doing. We think it makes us better than other people. And in this way, it doesn't serve the purpose. So the last text 40, was warning about this kind of mentality and kind of showing the futility of it by saying sometimes a neophyte devotee, someone who's not well evolved as in bhakti yoga, offers all the paraphernalia for worshiping the Lord in the temple. And he factually worships the Lord as the deity, but because he is envious, and we find that Prabhupada is, when he uses this word envious, he's likely using it in a bit of an archaic sense, but we could say because he has animosity towards the devotees of the Lord Vishnu, the Lord is never satisfied with his devotional service. So it's like you're doing all this external stuff, but God's like, I'm not interested in that external stuff so much. The external stuff is to bring you to love me and to love everyone. So it's like it's kind of meaningless. And we read that verse from earlier in the Bhagavatam that said it's kind of like pouring ghee onto ashes, and instead of into a sacrificial fire. It's kind of like there's no meaning to it. It has no efficacy to it. And so these last verses will continue in this vein.
Ideal I feel like I could write a book, a modern version of Ideal Family Life, of everything I did right and every failure I've had.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should. Ideal Family Life.
Ideal and sometimes less than ideal family life.
Ideal and what's real.
It's real and ideal.
What was real and what was ideal in my family life.
That would be a very interesting book, Raghunath. I think you'd have a lot to share there.
It is because, we have all these standards of Vedic, how living an ideal family life. And then we have modern day issues. We have
Sure. You got
maybe our
translator,
partner,
right?
maybe we got into this later in life. We already had kids. We didn't raise them as practicing Krishna bhakti.
It'd
It's
be a
like, it was sort
challenge.
of it was inspiring when she said, we're raising our kids here.
Yeah.
And it's very inspiring getting raised as a devotee.
On the
And
farm.
that itself has some challenges because then you're bringing these kids into the material world as they get older and they're trying to find themselves and how they fit in. And then we're trying to bring other kids. Then we get in later in life. We already have maybe a teenager. How do you bring that teenager into a spiritual life? These are all like challenges we face nowadays. Then we're dealing with a whole nother culture, that may be very, very foreign to us, from the clothing to the haircuts to the worship, to the practices of worship and incense and uh, yeah, there almost needs to be volumes of. I guess that's what we do on the show. We talk about this stuff especially on our questions and answers day.
Yeah, we do. It's all a question of taking the essence of it, right? And trying to see how that comes alive. How,
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so this is text 41. My dear king, of all persons, a qualified brahmana must be accepted as the best within this material world, because such brahmana, by practicing austerity, Vedic studies, and satisfaction, becomes the counterpart body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So a lot of worship to the renounced, spiritually educated, devotional people. Why? Because they have the direct society. They're the ones that you look up to. They're the ones you inquire from.
Yeah. And because when it says, it's an interesting way that it's phrased here. They become the counterpart body of God. And that's, again, so much of this is driving us. It's this Bhagavatam, just again and again, it's saying, don't get stuck on this lower level of religious thought, right? Because all of that external traditional stuff, it has value if it's moving you forward. But if you think that's the end, then you're stuck in something that's superficial. And where it's meant to go is that you're seeing God everywhere, seeing God working through everything. You're seeing God present in everyone. And particularly that brahmana, and now here, we're not talking about someone qualified. It says qualified brahmana, right? Not someone that's a brahmana just based on birth. Well, I was born in a brahmana family. It's someone that's through the practice of austerity and Vedic studies and satisfaction. And I think by satisfaction we can understand that as contentment, right?
Yeah.
Someone who's learned to be content simply, someone who studied the Vedic teachings and really understood them, embodied and are embodying them. Someone who's austere, it means that they have no monetary interest that's influencing the clarity of their thought. That person, God's message, God's energy, God's presence can work through them. And therefore, more important than worshiping the deity in the temple is the respect to this person. Or you could say the worship, like you use the word worship, right?
Yeah.
And I looked up the word worship, Raghunath.
You did.
In the dictionary.
Word nerd.
Word nerd. Well, you're the word nerd, so I thought this would might interest you. So worship, and there's two definitions here. I'll read the second definition first, because I think that's where our mind usually goes when we think of the word worship. And that is the acts or rites that make up a formal expression of reverence for a deity, a religious ceremony or ceremonies, right? I think that's what we think of when we think of worship, yeah?
Actually, the rites, yeah.
Okay, but the first definition is this: the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity, right? The feeling or expression of reverence or adoration. And so if someone would say like, you know what, maybe there's some interesting stuff here, but this worship stuff, I don't know, and worshiping God and what's worshiping another person? No way, you know.
Right.
But well, I think I don't know if there's any of us that can say that within our hearts we don't feel a type of reverence or adoration for someone, you know, and that we find different ways of expressing it. In other words, according to this definition, you know, like if you go to, you know, whatever, Taylor Swift concert and you get all excited and you cheer, and when she walks out on the stage, you're like, ah, you know, and you begin to express your adoration, you know, verbally and physically and so on. That is worship. And so we're all worshiping. We all have feelings and expressions of reverence and adoration. Where are they directed? And here we're saying if you can direct it towards the root of all existence, you're going to find the best result. But don't do it just superficially to a figure in a temple. Try to, the deeper, the one that's really feeling it is going to see it in people. And they'll find that qualified person, and that reverence that they might be showing might be diverting towards the rock star or the athlete or the politician or, you know, whatever, the model or, you know, whatever they might be, the celebrity of some sort, rather than that powerful energy being diverted to a less worthy, you know, object, that you can bring it to a person that has that the energy of God is really flowing through, you know, and that's a way that you keep your mind in the right place and keep your heart in the right place and evolve.
It's so interesting how worship is a meditation, and that we all have objects of meditation that are not necessarily the supreme personality of
We're all
Godhead.
meditating. We're all worshiping.
We're meditating on legs and abs and hair and beards and boobs and cars and, you know, people's property. And it's just like our
Beards, Raghunath, do you
Huh?
think people are meditating on your beard?
Yeah, probably a lot of people on the show right now.
Okay.
Probably like, that's a good
Are people worshiping that
Talk
beard?
to me, right?
Someone came up to
Tell
you.
him, Mary. If I say it, he won't even believe me.
It's true.
We were walking
walking
by.
It's
down
true.
the road in Massachusetts the other day.
Nice
Some guy
beard.
walking by was exactly.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to pick me up or something. He just goes, "Nice beard, man."
Nice
I
beard.
was like, "Is he trying to sell me one of Prabhupada's books?" Like, what?
Dude, you thought he was like being sarcastic at first?
I couldn't understand it. Like, why a guy? You know, usually a guy would say something, "Hey, nice outfit," to a woman. You know, trying to like get her attention, but I don't think he was trying to get my attention like that.
It
I
was
think
genuine
he
reverence
genuinely
and
was like,
adoration.
"I'm meditating on your beard, sir."
I'm worshiping your beard.
I would like a beard similar to yours.
Beards, boobs, cars.
Beards, Boobs, Cars by Ray Rockenath Capo. That's my new book. The
Where's our
object.
worship
What is
going?
your object of meditation? How can I make money? People are always, you know, mindset of the rich. You know, it's a meditation, and it's where our consciousness goes. You know, they say the resting face. Hey, look at his resting face. It's our resting mind.
Resting face? What
Yeah,
does that mean?
you've ever heard person? Right? I don't
No.
know where that expression came from. You know what I'm talking about? A resting face, like you're just like sitting there and you're looking grumpy or looking happy, or
Like your default emotional
your default
state?
face. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
RBF. What does that mean, Amy?
I can't say the B part of it.
Oh, rest in. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know these words, Amy. You have teenage
RBF?
daughters.
I'm lost. I'm lost.
Resting B face. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
It's often directed towards women because it's
Oh, I get
Like
it.
they're
they look
always
like
in
they're
that.
really grumpy or unhappy.
Okay, now I understand. Anyway, where is our resting mind? What is it? What is it default? What have we trained it to go as?
Resting bhakti face.
Resting bhakti face, like hello, Lord Jagannath. What's our resting bhakti face? But where's our resting mind? When I put my head on the pillow at night, where does it go to? Huh? What will be the last thought as we leave our body.
Hmm.
You could think about that. What is your thoughts when things are going miserable in your life? Where's that
Oh,
going
this is such a good topic, Raghunath. Yeah, because if we have a choice that we could either just let that operate as the winds of the world blow it, you know,
Yeah.
or we could decide, no, I'm going to direct it. I'm going to be the captain of this boat, and I'm going to adjust the sails and direct my mind, my resting mind, to where I want it to go. And that's what this regulation in yoga is all about, right? And what's so funny?
It's stupid. Nothing.
All right.
Go on. I'm just.
No, there you go. You are
No, you know
impossible.
why? Because the guy we were talking about the guy complimenting my beard, and
Yeah.
then we said something like resting bhakti face, something like that. And so then Professor Snooky on the board goes, "That's a good shirt," and I thought she was talking about my shirt. I was like, I wrote back, "Thanks," but then I realized she was just saying like that phrase would be a good T-shirt. That's what she meant. I thought it was
Resting
compliment
bhakti.
Raghunath morning. That's what I thought was going on here.
We
I was
can
like,
compliment you a
everybody
little
get
bit more if you like.
for Raghunath. And before I sent thanks, I realized like, oh, I get it. She's not talking about my particular shirt today.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, a little letdown there.
A little Hey, you know what? That's part
Nice
of
glasses.
that.
Henry say nice glasses though.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you. But a good point here is my resting bhakti, is my resting mind, is it looking for validation on a regular basis? Like, what do they think about me? What do they think about me? What do they think about me? What does she think about me? Do they
Yeah.
think I'm cool? Do they think I'm acceptable? What do I think about myself? You know, it's like, where is our mind go? Look, all the millions of places our mind can go, except to the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Mm. Well,
They're all meditations.
And what Bhakti is doing is it's not that we just have to root out all the distractions, but that we can actually just let the mind be attracted to something else, and the force of that will pull us forward in our yoga practice, which is otherwise so difficult. I was thinking, just like what we're talking about, like it actually is a type of worship that we have for other beings. And you can imagine, like, if you take an ordinary person and they got the Raghunath, please,
Sorry.
come on. It's like,
These guys are like nice.
now
jujitsu
we've enjoyed
mats.
that little, now let's let it go. Let it go. Let's talk to me. Come
Blame
on.
the message board. Blame them. They're trying. They're going out of their way to
Okay,
distract
there's your
me.
initial childish response. How many childish responses will we get? Okay, blame it on someone else. How many do we have to get before? Or can we just let that go? But I was thinking, you take an ordinary person and you like, let's say you have it seems like Taylor Swift is like the biggest star in the world right now, right?
Yeah, and I still can't name a song. Go.
And then let's say you take a fan of Taylor Swift, like someone that's really into her,
Yeah.
and say they just like, what's that, Mary?
Oh, they're called Swifties.
Swifty. You take a Swifty.
A Swifty.
Okay. You take like the head of the Swifty fan club, and you drop them and say, like they said, we're going to drop you off in Taylor Swift's home.
What?
Yeah, and you're going to spend the weekend there.
Taylor Swift's paraphernalia.
Yeah, and so then if they'd be like, wow, this is like incredible. Like, I'm in Taylor Swift's house and there's her this, and oh my God, this is where she cooks her meals, or this is where she sleeps, or this is where she does this or that. And they would walk around in that home. In one sense, it's just a home full of stuff. Maybe it's like an expensive home or a large home or something like that. But
Probably
it's got its television over here and its bed over there and its couch over there. And
there's nothing unique about it, right?
well, it's but for her, it's very unique.
For
it's
who?
like
The fan?
for the Swifty, him or her.
Swiftie. Okay.
And everything that they're seeing is reminding them of Taylor Swift. And they're probably also thinking, let me be careful not to do it, like not to like drop anything or break anything, because this is all Taylor Swift's,
Right.
And I love Taylor Swift. And, and that's kind of like the way that the Bhakti Yogi is moving through this world, is like, this is all the energy of God. I'm seeing it's not just in this temple, but by cultivating the attitude in the temple, I'm moving through the whole world.
Okay.
Not in a
That's
sense
where
where
you're
it's like,
going with this analogy. That's a great analogy.
okay.
I thought you were going to a whole different country with that analogy.
No.
And the
So,
country being, let me just share my where you were
okay.
going, because I was like, oh, he's
In your
getting
mind?
deep here. He's getting deep. You did get deep, but in a different
In a
depth,
different
in a
place.
different ocean.
Okay. Different pond.
Where I was going was how why by worshiping Taylor Swift,
You get to go to her home.
once you get to go to her home, and once you get to know her, generally these things it doesn't live up to all you expected it to live up to. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
Because we tend to worship false gods. That's
I
where I
see.
was going with a lot of these
Oh,
things.
okay.
There's a
No.
worship of false gods, just false ideas of
Prophets.
meditation that
Okay.
that our mind goes to. Our mind goes to lusty images. Our mind goes to things of this world that we think will make us happy. It will go to all this concept of greed. It will go to, stockpiling wealth. But do those things actually give the heart what it wants? So I thought you were going, okay, we're going to worship this person, and then we get there, it's like, oh, it's a big deal.
Okay.
Whereas in
No.
bhakti, when you worship great souls who give enlightenment, as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's actually tangible reciprocation,
Gotcha.
magic stuff.
Well, okay. And so
It is what
let's
it
tie them
promises.
together. Let's tie them together. So then
tie these two great analogies together as one.
like chocolate and peanut butter.
Two great things that go great together.
Okay. So this is the idea that the mature bhakti yogi, right? Or let's just say the evolved spiritualist in general. This is the real saint, that they're moving through this world and they're associating everything in it with God. Everything in it is reminding them of God. So they're kind of like a gentle soul in one way, just like that person may be gentle moving through Taylor Swift's home. They want to be careful. Oh, I don't want to, make a stain on her white couch or, something like that, or on a carpet or something like that. Because then it'll be like, oh, that creep that ended up in my house and just didn't respect it. No, it's like, I love God, and I see everything that I see. Tree reminds me of God, just like, the couch reminds me of Taylor Swift. Kitchen reminds me, no, tree reminds me of God. Other human being reminds me of God. Animal reminds me of God. River reminds me of God. It's got me in this God consciousness. Everywhere I turn, I'm seeing the presence of God. I'm seeing God in the presence of human beings. And when I see a qualified brahmana, someone who's really got the energy of God flowing through them without it being diverted in so many different ways, well, I respect that, or you could say I worship that. And so the householders are finding those people and taking their energy and rather than worshiping so many other less worthy objects of their meditation or their focus, they bring it there. And it's uplifting, it's purifying, it's edifying, it's powerful.
I like that. Good job. You're a weaver, weaving those two analogies together as one.
And it kind of, he concluded with this final verse of this chapter.
Let's do it. Let's wrap this up in style, right in time. My dear King Yudhisthira, the brahmanas, especially those engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord throughout the entire world. Was that a Prabhupada indulgence right there?
Well, you want to look at the Sanskrit?
Look at the Sanskrit. I'll finish reading it, and then you tell me.
All right.
My dear King Yudhisthira, the brahmanas, especially those engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord throughout the entire world, are recognized and worshipped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Flipping it.
God's worshiping them.
There you go. God has feelings of adoration for them in his heart.
Yeah.
And expresses it.
He's in the personality of Godhead who is in the heart, and who is the heart and soul of all creation.
Okay,
the brahmanas, by their preaching, sanctify the three worlds with the dust of their lotus feet, and thus they are worshipable. I heard that Krishna ate, this famous story about Krishna eating the dirt, and one of the acharyas, I can't remember who, said Krishna is eating the dirt because he wants the dust of the feet of the
Vrindavan, or the Vrindavan residents. Yeah.
So, what Sanskrit pundit? What did you find?
First of all, what I found, the way that I would understand that, like, in other words, the verse probably more simply reads that, my dear King Yudhisthira, the brahmanas, and then Prabhupada kind of adds, especially those engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord throughout the entire world. And maybe if we go back to the previous verse where it's talking about this person that's qualified themselves through austerity, Vedic studies, and contentment. I suppose, there's Prabhupada stretching there, they're Vedic studies, they're expressing them to people. Right? How do you know it if they're not speaking it? And so, especially those that are sacrificing to kind of help others, to serve others in this way. So yeah, I think you're right about that. But yeah, interesting here, right? Let's see it again. The brahmanas, especially those engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord throughout the entire world, are recognized, check, and they're worshipped, right, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, like, why should you hesitate to worship them, to hold feelings of adoration in your heart for them? And because he's the heart and soul of all creation. The word is Jagadatmana. Nice term, huh? Jagadatmana.
Jagadatmana.
Jagadatmana. He's the soul of the universe, the Atma of the universe. It's a very meaningful concept. It's not just a poetic thing, but it's like, just as our soul's consciousness is spread throughout our body, the universe is his body, and as Lord Vishnu, his consciousness is spread throughout the entire universe. And that being enters the heart of every living being and worships himself, those types of people, those brahmanas. The brahmanas, by their preaching, they sanctify the three worlds with the dust of their lotus feet, and thus they are worshipable, even for Krishna. So why should we have? It's a big message. It's saying, you know what? It's not letting us get away with the idea that, you know what? I got spirituality on my own and I don't need anyone. It's saying, no. If that's the way you're saying, your vision hasn't evolved. Your heart isn't aligned yet with the heart of God, and that's the real yoga. Like, that's when you've really kind of finally everything's clicked into place. When your heart is 100% aligned with the heart of God, boom. In that sense, you're one with God, and you've achieved the goal of yoga. And if you can't feel the same feelings that he feels for other people, then you're not there. Where are you, Raghunath?
That was good. I woke up with a bad dream today.
Well, I hope you'll feel better as you go throughout the day, Raghunath.
That's what happens.
At least your house didn't burn down.
You forget your dreams. You forget them. And that's sort of like what we do when we enter this body. We forget our last life as if it was a dream,
All right.
Just thought I'd share that with you.
Thank you, Raghunath. Mary, do you have any takeaways for today?
I do have some takeaways today. Simple living is not simple.
That was like, I know, she was almost like saying, like, think again before you start think living. That was
Put your money where your mouth is.
Put your money where your mouth is. Simple living is not simple. It's not, Yeah. Have that garden out there. So, right?
Yeah. Envy and animosity will destroy your spiritual life.
Oh, man.
Envy and animosity you'll destroy your material life as well.
Yeah,
even if people don't even believe all this spiritual stuff, this is too crazy and woo-woo, it's going to ruin your material life. It's going to ruin your material life.
Bitter people. Just miserable all the time.
We had a sweet evening last night. My son, who I haven't seen in a long time, he came back, and Mara made sushi, and I made tempura. We just got together. It was just like a sweet.
We had some tarts from the peaches.
Mara made some tarts from the peaches from the orchard.
Nice.
It was good.
Any other random thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap this up? All right.
I'll go.
Don't get stuck in the superficial.
Okay.
We are all worshiping. Direct it to the root.
Yeah. You're worshiping everything. Worshiping abs. Ever see people look at people with abs? Even men look at other men's abs. Like, I want those abs. Men especially. Men are always checking out other men's bodies. Like, oh, look at that. Much more than girls are checking out men's body. Ever notice that? I mean, do you check out men's bodies?
I've had this conversation actually with my old sous chef. He used to go to the gym regularly, and he was saying how like guys would always be talking about like, oh man, you got nice calves.
You got nice calves. I think it's much less women checking out men's bodies than guys looking at other men's bodies. Because I think they think that's what women want. And we all know women couldn't care less. They care a little, but only in a weird, weird fetish type of way. They like
We're gonna let's just wind it.
You know what I mean? Like those those bachelorette parties where they go to the guy. What are those called? Chippendales. It's not real. Girls couldn't care less that much.
Okay.
Back to our takeaways.
Chippendales. Go ahead.
Be the captain of your resting mind.
Be the captain of your resting mind.
Don't let it just be blown away by the world's random winds.
Align your heart with the heart of God.
There you go.
Radha Premabhakti says, women want men who can build fences.
Especially
I bet that's a big turn on for like a
British Columbia.
Right? Women do love men who fix things, right?
I was thinking, Raghunath, it's just another reason for your appreciation of stone walls.
Why?
God, you can't. They don't burn down; they last.
Oh yeah, stone houses, stone walls, stone barns. All right.
And
I look at both.
And
get off of the chat board. I'm trying to start the music. And
okay.
worship like a Swiftie visiting Taylor Swift's house.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Imagine that.
Worship
Like who said that? That's a good one. Yeah, yeah. Or note worshiping mundane people, body parts. Notice if you're worshiping a body part. Notice that.
The beard. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Notice if you're worshiping. How about when your head hits the pillow? Are you thinking of abs? Huh?
we're all thinking of your beard, Raghunath.
Ah, beard. I can enjoy that. You can't enjoy it.
Do you find you get food stuck in the beard sometimes? Sometimes. Oh, this, I got like a half-pound of peanut butter in my beard right now.
I could probably eat breakfast from yesterday's meal from my beard.
You can just suck on your beard.
Poor Mara. She's always like, Raghunath, it's in your beard. It's on your beard. It's in your face. It's on your tooth. It's in your mustache. It's up your nose. I know. I'm like, this is my apocalypse stash.